Voltron Network.
What's up, guys, and welcome to should we say, festive edition?
Why not? Why not?
The festive edition of the DC versus Marvel podcast, where we talk about the latest DC and Marvel movie news. My name is Uz, and I'm your regular DC fanboy. And once again, in the red corner, representing Marvel Comics, is my boy Eds. How you doing, man?
What's up, guys? I'm good. Wonderbar. Just chilling, just relaxing. Took what was supposed to be a 30-minute nap earlier, ended up being 4 hours, but
Wow. 4 hours. Are you getting in that mode where it's like you sleep during the day and then it's like
I've been trying to fix it, because last week I got to the point where, no exaggeration, my day was starting at 8 p.m. and that was bad. That was bad. So I had to kind of fix that.
Yeah. I had a similar kind of thing. Like I've been waking up at 11 o'clock like every day, which for me is late, like super late. And especially now, because the kids can kind of like get their own breakfast and stuff. So they got to that age where they can get their own breakfast. It's kind of getting a bit like, wait a second, I'm in bed at 11 o'clock. This ain't right, man. So I set my alarm for 8 this morning, because I thought I'm not gonna put it at 6:30, because that's like that's too much. That's too much. So I set it at 8, and I got up, and it was kind of like, okay, fine. I got to slowly work myself in over the next week back to that 6:30.
That's the thing. You have to fix it before you actually get back to work, or then you are screwed for those first that first week.
Exactly. Back. It's like my New Year's resolution was basically to go to sleep at 10 so I can wake up at 5, which is what I used to do like a few years ago. And the only reason why I kind of think that is basically because since it's weird, like since I got COVID in January, right? I kind of like my like running stamina has completely disappeared. Like it's like I'll start to get chest pains after like running like 100 meters, and it's not like I'm out of breath. You can still go, but it's just like pain. This is not right. Yeah. This is not right. So I need to really, really, really properly start training again, man. So the only way I'm going to do it is go from 5 a.m. So let's see how long that lasts. So when I could actually even get sleep at 10 o'clock, that is the main thing.
But so what are we talking about this week?
Man, we got quite a lot to talk about, and it's like usually we kind of try and ease in and be like, okay, let's get out of the way some of the not so major stuff so we can get to the major stuff. But this week, kind of like, I think pretty much everything is major this week, kind of thing. So so we kind of just gotta go back into it. Before we do that, bit of housekeeping, right? So one of our listeners, I'm just going to get this up there a second. One of our listeners, I don't know, I'm not going to give his full name. John, his name, from Wales, who basically like messaged us and says like, are you guys still doing the podcast? I can't find any of the episodes. And I just messaged him back saying, yeah, man, we're still going. And, here's the links. If you look for DCVS Marvel podcast on Apple Podcasts or Google or wherever, it'll come up with us. But for some reason, even though the old podcast is gone, and also all the old episodes and everything have been deleted, for some reason it still sometimes shows up. So basically, like, if you go into Spotify and you're not unsubscribed from the old DC versus Marvel podcast, then it won't find you any of the new episodes of the new DC versus Marvel podcast.
Technology. It must be something to do with the RSS feed or something. It's just conflicting.
Yeah. So basically, like, you have to. I'm just wondering whether it's because I've put it on a new provider or something like that. That basically, like, you have to unsubscribe from the old DC versus Marvel podcast and then search for DC versus Marvel podcast again, and you will find it, and it is there basically on all the platforms that you can find. So I think kind of, it seems to be like maybe that is, people are doing that anyway because the numbers are gradually kind of creeping up. But
It's a
yeah, I
secret
just went and
podcast.
double checked everything.
We did
The
it on
secret
purpose. They have to be worthy to listen to this. So they have to be challenges that they have to overcome.
Well, that's the sad thing, is like basically like the audience that we kind of built up kind of lost them because they now can't find the stuff there again. So I mean, like John was like, wow, okay, there's like 12 episodes here now we'll kind of have to listen to and stuff like that. So hopefully that will keep him occupied and not actually like put off listening to us there all the time. So yeah, anybody who's listening there now, thanks for trying to find us there again. I'm gonna try and see if there's a way around it. I don't know if there's a way around doing that. Maybe I still have the old logins to some of these other things, and I can kind of just delete them, like just completely vanish them from the face of the earth.
Well, hopefully but John is hearing this.
Yeah.
Well done if you
and
were.
Then, well done, because you're the guy. Exactly, you're the guy who figured it out. So before we get on to our topics, right, I like to read out some of the reviews of Spider-Man No Way Home and I sent you some of these there anyways from our film forum. And just basically, because I thought it'd be interesting, kind of, we're like huge comic book fans, right? So we're going to love it, like full stop. But it's interesting to kind of see different people's viewpoints about it. And then obviously we'll go into it. So we've got one here from Amu, which says, I really enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was the best ever. And then Hap, Hap says, I think that the Marvel universe has finally disappeared up its multiverse's backside. Big disappointment, even for my 7 and 9-year-olds. I can't think of a worse Marvel movie.
Oh, is boring.
Yeah, check this out. Actually, no, that's Eternals that I've ever watched. Even a little bit of nostalgia could not save this for me. And he also says the word bakwas, which basically is in Punjabi means like terrible, like garbage, basically. Yeah. What's your kind of thought on that?
No, if you feel that was a terrible, like, to say that it's the worst Marvel movie is just the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard. Like, how? Even if you hadn't had the nostalgia of the other films, just based this film on it, even if you hadn't seen any other Marvel film, this wasn't a shit film. It was still structured, well, entertaining, engrossing story. Like, what is the hate? Like, it makes no logical sense. And that just ain't from a Marvel fan. That's just, how can you hate it? How?
Yeah, exactly. And
we're going to be talking about a film later, which you can hate, which makes more sense.
Yeah. You could hate, but actually, I think the director probably hates even more, to be honest. So another one here from Tiff. Overall, I enjoyed it better than the much recent stuff. The surprise was nice. Tom Holland is a decent Spidey, and good to see some of the old other characters. But all the magic multiverse worlds folding inside out bollocks is sleep-inducingly boring, as are endless scenes of people getting smashed through walls and ceilings.
Okay, I think I get it now. I think I get it. It's an intelligence issue. If you get lost by someone just explaining that there are more than one universe out there and different versions of something, just slow people just can't handle that. It's too abstract for their brains to comprehend and to understand. And it's like, well, I don't get it. Why is it?
God. No. Oh my God, Ed, you're going to get me in such trouble.
Bring them. Come at me. Oh come at me. What can they do? They're dumb. They're stupid. Obviously are. So it's purely intelligent.
These are like colleagues in my profession, you know that, yeah? So next time I turn up to one of these things, I'm going to get blasted.
There you go. Stay away. Okay. Test your dentist before you go there, because obviously some of them ain't too bright.
This is exactly. Well, this is the thing, the view of the Marvel guy, right? But DC is much more like accommodating to people. Like we'll take anyone basically, right?
Yeah, I've seen that.
But yeah. So anyways, yeah. This is the thing. Like, I have talked to a few people at like work about this and stuff like that, and just mates and stuff generally. I think one of the things is this is a generational thing there as well. And I kind of figured this out by trying to show my kids. So my nieces, right? One of my nieces is really, really into Marvel, like crazily into Marvel, right? And she got into it like a year ago. So she's seen like Iron Man, Avengers, all the Spider-Mans, all this kind of stuff, right? And she's like properly into it. She liked the new Spider-Man film. She's 9, by the way. She liked the new Spider-Man film, but she didn't say it was she didn't say it was amazing, it was great, it's fantastic, it was whatever. It's just like, oh, I really like that film because like a Marvel film. She likes all the Marvel stuff, right? But the thing that I can kind of see is it's like generational. From what I see from this, it's kind of like if you were like around when that first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie
definitely
came out.
Definitely helps.
And you saw that, and there was, I remember seeing that when I was at university. Like it was, in fact, the main reason why I remember it is because basically it came out when we were in the US, because we went to New York, and we all kind of went to go and see it together. So that's the kind of thing that I remember there about it. And then obviously like the
New York,
Andrew Garfield and all that kind of stuff there. It's just, I think it's more like if you were there the first time, then when you see it there later on, it kind of makes it seem better. Kind of like the same way you got a lot of people who were Star Wars fans who saw the Star Wars films when they first came out, and then went to see Phantom Menace and were raving about it, right, when they first saw it, and then later on were like, yeah, it's not so great.
Yeah,
because
this
they've
ain't
got
the
that thing
Phantom
in their
Menace
head.
though. That ain't gonna have that effect.
I know. But I'm trying to just give a kind of comparison there of it.
Did you actually watch the other Spider-Mans since?
So this is the thing. So this is the problem that I have now, right? So my kids now, because my nieces came for Christmas Day, are like, we want to see the new Spider-Man film, right? And I'm like, you can't just watch the third Spider-Man film. You haven't, right?
Good father, you can't. Good parent in there. I like that.
You have to go and see Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 1, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then watch the Tom Holland Spider-Man 1 and 2, and then that one. So we started off and watched the original Spider-Man. And they were like, okay, they kind of understood, okay, this is the first Spider-Man, whatever, fantastic, it's all good and stuff. And then we watched Spider-Man 2, and then we watched Spider-Man 3, and then they watched Spider-Man Homecoming, and now they're getting lost, right? And the reason why they're getting lost is because basically there's loads of little bits in it that he says certain things. And kids, man, they pick up on every single little thing. And they're like, oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? And I'm like, oh my days, right? So basically there's this bit. He's like, oh yeah, it's like that time when I stole Captain America's shield, right? So then this morning my daughter goes, oh yeah, what does that mean when he stole Captain America's shield?
See, this is the problem when they watch things out of sequence. This is what I try to tell people. It's like a TV show. You can't just jump in halfway. You have to go start from the beginning. It doesn't work otherwise. It's just a mess.
That is, you're right. You're right. So that's the thing. So now, so what I then did was I was like, okay, I put on Captain America Civil War and forwarded it to the bit where they're fighting in the German airport, right? And Spider-Man comes and he just takes the shield. I said, oh, that's the reason why he takes the shield. Then my daughter's like, why are they fighting in an airport? And I'm like, oh my god. How am I going to explain this, right?
That's
so I'm like, okay, well, basically what happened is that the Captain America
explaining it. You should just be showing it to them. Be like, a week. Everyone's staying in this room, in this living room for a week, and we're watching everything.
Oh man, you know how many films there are? It's just absolutely mental. And then not enough. And then because the same thing happened when we were watching Hawkeye, right? So we're watching Hawkeye, and they're like, what's he talking about here? This is the classic. What does he mean? What does he mean that Natasha sacrificed herself? I'm like, oh no,
See,
oh man,
see,
we're gonna have to
this was.
watch
I
like
knew this was coming when you were like, "I don't let them watch anything." I knew this was coming because they can't hide them from it, man.
oh man, but it's like now it's like, oh my days, we're gonna have to show them like literally every single one. So I'm kind of if you guys listening have any idea on how to do an absolute condensed version of this, right? Because firstly,
Dude,
each of these movies are like 2.5 hours long, yeah. So it's like apart from the early phase one ones, which are just over 2 hours, it's kind of like, okay, well, you're gonna end up watching 60 hours of films. They're gonna be like they're gonna end up with glasses like their dad by
dude,
the time they
I'd be
finish the
making
whole.
this. I'd be making money out of this. This would be like the new reaction videos as you introducing your kids to the MCU every week with new films. People will
Yeah,
love
yeah.
that.
Oh my days. Yeah. You know what I'll just say? I'll just say, look, anything you can't understand, can you just give Uncle Ed's a ring? Yeah.
Oh,
He will explain this, what this means, what this word is saying, what is that. So,
well,
so
get comfortable, kids. Where
exactly,
shall I
exactly.
begin?
And we'll come to this obviously in a moment when a certain character turned up in Hawkeye, and I'm like, yes, like that. And they're like, who's that guy? I'm like, oh my
That I can
days.
understand because you probably don't want to show them
Exactly. Do I
Daredevil.
need to show them? Do I really want to show them that? I don't know. So yeah, it's a difficult one,
But
man.
then
But
at
yeah,
least show them a trailer so that way they know that when what's his face pops up on screen as well, the Daredevil on Spider-Man, when they eventually watch that, they'll also understand that, oh, this guy's a
yeah,
big deal.
yeah. Also, they can't understand what the blip means. So I tried to explain there to them that Thanos came and he basically put everybody out of existence and all this
You're
kind of stuff.
taking the magic
And it's
away.
like,
You're taking the shock of them
there's
experiencing
no
it
magic.
for the
Come on.
first time. Oh, this is
I'm trying to
bad.
fast. I'm trying to fast forward them to a
I need
stage
wine
where
to deal with this. No.
I'm trying to fast forward them to a stage where they can watch Spider-Man Far From Home in the cinema while it's still in the cinema. That's the whole point, right? And there's absolutely no way that all of these other things can be watched within that kind of time. You know what I mean? So that's the mission. That's the mission, man. I'm gonna have to go on YouTube, maybe find a condensed MCU phase 1 to 3 or something. Somebody just like, I don't know,
Yeah,
just
like a little
something
30
like
minute
that, and
video
then
of them just talking through it.
yeah, yeah. Even if it's an hour,
That
even if
breaks
it's an
my
hour,
heart,
that's fine.
man. These are family films. Just let them watch it, man.
Mate, do you know how many films there are?
It
They'd have
doesn't
to watch Iron
matter.
Man 1, Iron Man 2. They can skip Iron Man 3 because they don't really matter. They
Yeah.
have to watch Thor 1 at least, Captain America 1, yeah, 1 definitely, and and Winter Soldier, because otherwise they ain't gonna understand what the
Yeah,
hell.
need that, need
Why
that.
is Winter Soldier in there? Even yeah, Winter Soldier, and then they're gonna have to watch Civil War, and then they're gonna have to watch Avengers 1, Avengers 2.
Did they
Even on the
watch
thing,
Shang-Chi?
they watch Shang-Chi, but Shang-Chi's kind of on its own. That's
Yeah,
the
but
beauty of it,
were they
man.
like, who is that guy with the portals?
No, no, no. I don't want to, I don't want to sound, xenophobic or anything, but it's kind of just like they're just kind of like, oh, it's a magical, Asian guy basically opening a portal, and they're
God.
all, that's what they just thought. So
Oh,
they
it's
have no
breaking,
idea.
man. Oh, it's breaking.
However, they do know who Captain Marvel is. How, I don't know, because I've never shown them who
They
Captain
go to
Marvel is,
school, man. That's what I'm
but they
saying.
know
You
who
can't
Captain
protect
Marvel
them.
is.
They go
All
to
these,
school.
I know who Captain Marvel is. So
Other
so
kids
yeah,
do.
so that's the thing. Yeah, so that is the thing, man. So yeah, I mean, the one thing that I would say is that kind of like my daughter kind of watches it just as a film, whereas my son actually gets a lot more into it. Like now,
Involved in it, yeah.
yeah, he just watched like an hour or so. They watched half of Spider-Man, but it's kind of past their bedtime, so send them up. Um,
Oh, did you
and
skip
then
Amazing Spider-Man?
no, they've already seen that with my sister-in-law like a year ago. I didn't even know, but basically they've already seen it,
What about two?
right? And two, one and two.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know why,
Okay.
why,
It's
but
good
they
on
know
you.
that. So So that's the thing. So when they saw that, they're like, when they were saying and they saw Tobey Maguire, they're like, oh, is this a different Spider-Man? You know, it's like, yeah, but I didn't know they'd ever seen any Spider-Mans. But obviously now I know that they'd actually watched it with my sister-in-law. So they've already seen Amazing Spider-Man. So to them, Andrew Garfield is the original Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's the next one, and then Tom Holland's the one afterwards, right? So, anyways,
be interested to see once they have seen all of them, who they think is their favorite, because they're seeing it all in one go. They don't have the bias of nostalgia, which I think is why everyone always goes for Maguire. Even though for me, I love those original films, but he's not Peter Parker for me, because his version of it isn't like what the comic version that I remember reading. Holland is the closest for me to the comic book version of Peter Parker. The quips, the you know, the always just talking, never shutting up. It's not this quiet nerd that Maguire is.
I'll tell you, for my son, it ain't going to be Tom Holland, and I'll tell you the reason why. I almost forgot to kind of tell you this. So yesterday, so they watched Homecoming yesterday. So they're watching Far From Home today. So they've seen half of Far From Home today, right? So so yesterday they're watching, and the thing is, my son and daughter, they don't know like many. They're not swear words, but like, you know, we don't really kind of, you know, teach them like certain words and stuff like that, right? So they're watching this thing, and I've obviously forgotten what Homecoming is like. I haven't seen it for a long time, right? And there's a bit in there where basically Flash is DJing and he's going, when I say penis, you say Parker, penis, Parker, like that, yeah, right? So they're doing that, and then my son, later on, like probably 2 hours later after the film has finished, he goes, he's eating his dinner, and just out of nowhere he goes, penis, like that. My wife
How old is he?
Around, he's 6, yeah.
And you haven't heard that in school. What sort of school do they go to that they don't even hear it? That's mad.
They go to a posh school, man. They go to a posh
even
school.
Worse, in my opinion, from my experience, the girls that I've met, even worse.
So yeah. So my wife turned around and go, where did you learn that word, right? And then he's like started crying and stuff, like, because he's like, he didn't know it was a naughty word and stuff, right? So it's an anatomical word, but you know, he's kind of like, you know, so my wife's like, oh, you don't say things like this, especially at the dinner table, right? So he's like, so he was kind of like that. And then my wife said to me today when they were watching No Way Home, she's like, you know, have you seen this film before? And I was like, yeah, definitely. She's like, yeah, because that other one had some like, you know, silly things in it and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, don't worry, this one's totally fine. But he's still got that on his mind, basically, that he got told off for repeating something in Spider-Man. So that's gonna taint his. But even so today, when they finished the film halfway through, and he went upstairs, I said, mate, get in your pajamas and then go to bed. Yeah, he gets in his Spider-Man pajamas and then jumped into bed, right? So he's like straight away like, you know, I want to be part of this universe kind of thing. And I think for a kid like that,
man,
to see another kid,
it's there, it's in there, the seed is in there. You can't just try and destroy this plant that's growing within him, man. Let it grow, let it flourish. Start from the beginning. Sunday.
The beginning is just too long, man. You have to go all the way from Iron Man 1. Oh, dude, I'll think about it and then see if I've you know, if there's enough time to see every single thing. But guys, let's actually get into what we came in to talk about, which is we're talking today some Hawkeye. We're gonna be talking some Batman. We're gonna be talking some further Spider-Man kind of stuff, and we're also gonna be talking about the film of the moment, The Matrix,
Resurrections.
Regurgitations. We're going to be talking about so we're but first, let's talk some Hawkeye, man. I know that Boba Fett is out there as well, but neither me or Ed have seen it yet. So once we've seen it, we'll give you guys a review there next week. Probably the second episode will probably be out by then there as well. So we do 1 and 2 together.
Wednesdays now, so yeah, double hitter next week.
Double hitter. So, Hawkeye season finale. Now, I don't know what happened to me last time when we were discussing this, but I think I missed some of that previous episode because you were saying certain things there to me. Like, did you miss this, or are you sure did you not see this? And I'm like, yeah, and I'm like thinking I did see that, but I must have missed parts out or dozed off, or I don't know what, because there's definitely bits that I missed from there, definite things that people were saying, like just missed loads of stuff. So I actually did a recap of 5 again before I watched number 6, and then obviously watched 6 there again. So
what didn't you get?
No, because you were saying to me like, oh, did you not see she was talking to Kingpin, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And then I'm thinking, did I actually see that? I can't remember. I think I was like half asleep while I was actually watching it. There's so many little things, like even like when the sword guy, was kind of framed and stuff like that, and he disappeared off and stuff like that in the second episode, in the 5th episode. I'd missed it. I literally must have been dozing in and out. So I had to watch it again just to understand what the hell was going on again, because you were saying stuff to me and I was like, yeah, I'm sure I've seen that. And then afterwards, I was like, nah, probably not. So I watched that again, and obviously then we all watched together the season finale, which was pretty good. I mean, a lot of people I think are not going to like it because it's not that, oh look, the whole world's in danger kind of thing.
That is what, when I was talking to Mo about it on Talking at the Movies podcast, check it out. I think that's his issue, that it doesn't feel like it matters as much because he's so used to these big universe of level stakes that, things are so important that human race is going to be destroyed or something, that these little ground level stories don't interest him that much. It's just a shame, because that's where you really get more of the character stuff, man. And I've had so much fun with Hawkeye. It's been a big surprise. I did not expect to like it at all. And it's been one of my favorites.
It's one of those things that kind of it's been a show just that you can just watch like as a family. It's entertaining.
Oh my god!
Sorry, I've got
again.
No, I've got family around, so that you're guaranteed to pick up something or somebody. Yeah. You know what I mean? And also probably just I think I drank like nearly 3 liters of Pepsi Max over the past few days over Christmas and stuff. So yeah, like phosphoric acid probably destroyed my whole throat. But anyway, yeah. So it's like you can watch it as a family. It's not kind of, there's nothing really too bad about it and stuff like that. But even with this, there were certain things that I kind of had to explain there to the kids. The things with the trick arrows and stuff, like, where basically they use a trick arrow and the truck kind of becomes tiny.
Yeah, because they haven't seen Ant-Man. See, you're making more issues for yourself by hiding them from this stuff. You wouldn't have to explain if they knew.
So they're like, they're like, so even today, so they're like, it says Pym on it, and I was like, yeah, that's because of Ant-Man, blah blah. So when I showed them today the Captain America Civil War battle thing, my daughter goes, why are they calling Captain America Scott? Isn't his name Pym? And I'm like, oh no, that's this the Hank Pym is like the scientist guy who used to have the suit, and then he gave it to just too much to explain. But anyway, I really did like this episode. I kind of I liked the way they made Kingpin like a threat, like a physical threat, while also at the same time they can't show the same brutality that is shown in Daredevil, for example. But I like the little kind of callback that they had where the first time we kind of see Kingpin in Daredevil, he's smashing this dude's head in, right, in the car, right? And in this, you kind of see him and he walks up to the car and he rips the door off, right? And a lot of, a lot of people I was seeing saying online is like, you just expect him to like start bashing her head with the door, you know what I mean? Like after he's ripped it off, you know what I mean? But it's like, nah, that's it's
I like that they
right?
retain that he is a physical badass to something you just don't want to mess with one-on-one. That even superheroes get their ass kicked.
Yeah,
dealing with him.
Yeah, and he's not like like Shang-Chi or whatever, where he's got like amazing fighting ability. He's just a beast, man.
Yeah.
You get hit once by him.
It's like a slow-moving mudslide that's maybe slow if you can get away, but it's still very dangerous and you get caught. It just rolls over you. And she got her ass kicked.
Oh, she did get her ass kicked. And it's done in a way that that's the one thing I like about this, right? I see a lot of kind of films and stuff there nowadays where it's like, if the protagonist is female, they never get injured, right? And when they do, it's like, oh, I've got a little kind of bruise here and there. It's like
that Kate was not equality. If guys are going to get their ass kicked, women are going to get their ass kicked equally as bad.
Yeah, and the thing is that the way that that you end up winning, you have to be a bit smarter about the way of doing it. You have to use a little bit of guile and skill and stuff like that if you're physically kind of outmanned, if you know what I mean.
If it's a good film. If it's a bad film, they just power through somehow, even if they're the size of a toothpick.
Yeah, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So this did it in quite a good way. One of my only real criticism about this episode was Clint himself seemed quite helpless in a lot of the situations. Like he wasn't like he in a lot of it is kind of like he's not like a true leader. He's always been on his own. He's always like done stuff on his own under orders. So it's not like
takes orders, carries them out.
So he doesn't like lead people into battle or anything like that. But at the same time, there were certain bits where he was kind of like, stuck. And it's like he needed help here and there. And he made some silly decisions, right? Which was, which was kind of, I don't know how he would have made that and done that when he was by himself, but maybe they're just trying to show that he's rusty now and he's older or he's
basically deaf as well.
He's deaf. Yeah, he's deaf there as well. I really like the fact they're keeping Yelena's accent. That's one of the things, like, it's kind of like, some people, they criticize it because it's like, oh, it's like a stereotypical Russian accent. But I think it kind of makes it adds to the, that can in itself can be comical without actually.
They've obviously never met someone from Russia who's new from there, only like within the last decade, because they talk like that. That's how they talk. Stereotype. That's how they talk.
Exactly. So that it's I think I like the way that was kind of done. Everything kind of culminates obviously with Clint and Yelena kind of coming together and stuff, and basically like Yelena obviously finds out kind of what happened with Natasha and stuff. They I can't remember, it's a secret whistle, the secret tune they have that Clint kind of Clint kind of tells her, and then obviously we see then at that point Yelena kind of realizes obviously what's going on. The Maya story obviously then culminates there as well with with Kingpin.
It felt like they kind of left. They didn't really give much to that. It kind of faded out. But then I remember that she's also supposed to have her own spin-off show, so I guess she'll get a lot more to do there. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that gunshot could have gone anywhere. Could have gone in the air. She could have shot it just in the air and said,
"It's off camera. It didn't count."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like the tree falling in the forest, and nobody heard it. It didn't happen, right?
And the nephew kind of Well, we don't know how it's going to turn out, but he kind of gave away that when he originally met with Feige, they spoke about a number of properties and stuff that he could do. So if that still stands, and this is just one of many, so.
And he also did reveal something interesting, that basically like Kingpin disappeared in the blip. So that's why he lost his crown as the king of New. Basically, like somebody tweeted saying like, this isn't the same Kingpin or whatever as it is in the Daredevil ones. And then Vincent kind of tweeted back saying, actually, yeah, this is the Kingpin who has lost his mojo because he disappeared in the blip. And he's now trying to build his thing back up as the king.
Time, man. You lose all that power, all the influence. You gotta start again.
Exactly, man. And he doesn't have an heir, does he? He doesn't have somebody who is saying like you can take over or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how he builds that back up. And I think that's probably the best way to go there with him, is kind of like, okay, let's see him build this back up. Let's see him kind of like take over, you know. I don't know if I don't know enough about the Spider-Man villains as to whether there is a like a mafia, kind of like there is in Batman, right?
Kingpin.
So Kingpin
is big in the Spider-Man. He's a big part of the Spider-Man story. So that's why I hope he does pop up in those films.
No, what I mean is that so in one of the Batman stories, after the Joker kind of floods Gotham and stuff like that, you end up getting the crime families fighting over different parts of Gotham, right? And then what happens is they kind of end up fighting each other, and you end up getting like Black Mask taking over one area, and you get Two-Face taking over the other area, and it ends up with Black Mask taking over everything, basically, right? So with this, I'm just wondering, are there little bits like Falcone having one and Maroni having one bit, and then Kingpin is actually taking over each bit? I think that would be an interesting way to have a series.
Well, they did a good job, because I've been rewatching Daredevil, and they kind of really broke down how New York is divided up into, like, you've got the Chinese, Japanese, the Russians, the blacks. So they could go there, and you could even bring in. It depends how much they want to take from the old Netflix stuff, but they're definitely characters they can bring in to kind of be part of all that.
Yeah, I think the thing is like, then potentially HBO Max needs to get its stuff in order, because they're trying to do the same kind of thing with the Penguin series, and the Penguin is a big thing. But once you got Marvel backing something like the Kingpin, and you got it on Disney Plus, which actually is worldwide, unlike HBO Max, just bloody isn't, then you could potentially have something just taking the rug from under you. You know what I mean? Yeah. If they have the same kind of idea with Kingpin, it might even be going on right now. We don't know. You know what I mean? So
you never know the plans, because Jennifer, the chick who was in it was in Iron Fist, and it was also in Matrix. I forgot her name.
Henwick. Yeah. She
gave away that Cox knew about Spider-Man for like at least 2 years.
Yeah.
He knew for what? He kept that. He did a good job of keeping his lip tight. At least
he did.
Still can.
He's lucky, because I think unfortunately too much of the focus is on Garfield. Nobody wants to go and speak to Toby, because Toby is like he's like an aggressive guy. So it's all like, oh, let's speak to Andrew Garfield, and then they kind of left Charlie Cox not so much in it as much as Garfield. But yeah. So overall, what's your kind of thoughts of this series? What you kind of thought of it?
Enjoyed the hell out of it. Big surprise. Every week was a joy. Just tuning in to watch it. I like the setting. Probably the most Christmassy thing I've watched this whole year, to be honest. Yeah, I loved it, man. It's a lot of fun. And Kate Bishop, great addition. Can't wait to see her again in other shows or movies. Just it works for me. I think that's a good sort of character that you can put with a multitude of different characters in there. The bounce off back and forth would always be interesting, man. So I like that.
Yeah, there was always some good bounce off between her and Yelena throughout the entire thing. Like the elevator scene and stuff was quite funny in this last one. So yeah, same man. I enjoyed the hell out of this. I haven't enjoyed really any of the others, to be honest. I know people praise the shit out of WandaVision, but dude, this thing took 6 flipping episodes to get going, right? And it's like, and each episode's like 25 minutes long. It's like they could have cut that down to like, making 50-minute episodes like Hawkeye and actually just, accelerating the process. But anyway, that, to me, this is I'd put this one up there, man. Because I don't have too much of a vested interest in the other characters. So yeah, I enjoyed this, and I think it's got rewatchability there. Maybe 5-10 years down the line, you can kind of watch it again and be like, this was this is quite entertaining.
5-10 years, man. 5-10 months, man. 5-10
weeks. 5-10 months. 5-10 weeks, mate. I've got like 30 films to go through. You know what I mean? So that is the thing, man. So guys, let's flip to some DC now. And basically that when I came back from the Matrix, which we are going to discuss there in a bit, and I was in depression mode for like 2-3 days, and after that I was like, oh my god, there must be something to bring the mood back up, right? And then out of nowhere, this trailer kind of drops. It wasn't even listed properly, like on DC's all Warner Brothers YouTube channels. And it was kind of is a weird listing. And then afterwards, like, it started gathering momentum. Like, some of these ones, they're promoted. I think they just dropped it and like didn't like promote it or push it or anything like that. And it just kind of obviously went through. So we see this Batman and Catwoman trailer. Before I say anything about this, have you seen this, or is this the one you wanted to just
wasn't gonna watch it? I tried to stay away, and I did for a couple of days, but I ended up caving in one day, and I saw the thumbnail. I thought, why not?
Yeah,
there's a lot in it. It shows quite a lot, but still, I just love the tone. I love the tone of it, man. I love the darkness of it. I don't like Patterson's Bruce Wayne look, though. Like the hair, just the floppy.
Yeah.
I'm not too keen on that. But beyond that, it still looks amazing. And Zoe Kravitz.
What?
Yes. Criticized that casting in the beginning, but yes, that works for me.
I had a discussion with this about because I watched this trailer for like the 7th time with my mom there, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I like Batman being all brutal and like hitting these villains and stuff. And I'm like, Mom, that's basically what Batman is in the comics. I was like, no, he never started like that. He's in the 60s, he used to be all like boom and pow. I said, Mom, that 1960s
that
Batman
has been the main
it's an aberration
in the backside of Batman, that damn TV show, man.
So that is an aberration, man, in Bat lore. It's absolutely nothing like the comic books and stuff like that. But this is Detective Noir Batman, basically, right? And you kind of tell the story of what's going on, that Thomas Wayne was into some seedy shit, basically. That's basically what they're trying to say. And he was in with organized crime as well as dodgy cops and all this kind of stuff, and that the legacy's there. And maybe that Alfred has portrayed it to Bruce that his dad was this amazing philanthropist and did all this kind of stuff, whereas actually he was inbuilt with the bad guys as well, in effect.
Maybe it'll come out that it was a necessary evil. In order for him to do the good stuff, he had to get in bed with the bad guys.
Yeah. It might be like that. Paul Dano is creepy as hell, man.
When isn't he creepy? Name one thing he's ever been in where he hasn't come off as the creepy guy. Like, that's his specialty. I love it.
His specialty is just getting beaten up. basically. Like, like it's gonna be somebody's gonna do a compilation of like him in Prisoners, him in There Will Be Blood, and him in this getting beaten up, and it's like, what was the best beating that he received?
Best
like
ass whooping.
Exactly. What was the best ass whipping that he basically received?
I can't help watch this trailer and think to me like they might not go here because they may feel it's a bit too comic booky, but this sort of tone for them to do like a Court of Owls story in this tone with this Batman could be so good.
It would, yeah, it would be. And this is the thing that you said quite a lot, right? Because I don't know too much about the ins and outs of filming stuff and how films work and stuff like that. But it's like you compare this film to The Matrix. This has 100 million budget. The Matrix has 150 million budget, right? This looks flipping incredible. Whereas The Matrix looks like flipping garbage, right? And it's like, it's basically because somebody who knows cinematography, color grading, films it on a proper camera, all this kind of stuff, how to frame a shot, is like filming this as opposed to the other thing there, right? So yeah, I mean, just the way they've shot some of these things is really atmospheric, and it really is. I put up on my Instagram actually about the Telltale games, because the Telltale games have a very similar kind of origin storyline for Batman, and a very similar kind of vibe to the way this film is. And I'm kind of just, it's just too similar, if you know what I mean. Like, it kind of seems like maybe Matt Reeves knows about it, or he's seen something about it, or somebody's told him something about it, that it's kind of like the vibe, the way stuff is it's portrayed in that is quite similar to the way this film seems to be going. So yeah, it's I don't know, it's my most anticipated of next year, although there is a shit ton of stuff coming out next year, you know what I mean? But
Morbius?
but we'll see. Morbius sacrificed himself, because it's like, mate, you've got the biggest film of this year in effect in Spider-Man, which, you know, has now reached $1 billion, right? And it's like, there's nothing about Morbius in it. It's like, are you dumb?
Marvel like, don't want no parts of that. They don't want to touch that property when they've got Blade.
That's the thing.
Thing is, it's not going to make sense. It's not going to make sense. They've got Vulture in it from Holland. They've got Garfield Spider-Man spray painting on the wall, and Venom exists apparently because he talks about Venom. Like, how does this universe? This film is not going to make sense. It's like the writers just didn't think about it, and they didn't really care.
This is the thing. So there's been rumors that that Garfield is going to have his own kind of series or something that's going to exist in that universe, but then that makes no sense, because it's the bloody Tobey Maguire Spider-Man who is a poster which Morbius is walking past.
Oh, was it? Yes, Maguire.
It's Maguire. It's the Maguire one.
I thought it was Garfield.
And it's like,
guys.
No, it's the Maguire one, because it's got like a yellowish background and stuff like that.
Okay.
And it's got like the raised silvery spider, web kind of thing over the top of it, basically. Whereas the Garfield one, sorry, the Garfield one is black webbing, with like the little dotted kind of bits inside it. So
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so then it's like, okay, well, then Tobey Maguire
even
exists in the Venom universe. How does this make any sense? So Venom exists. They know Spider-Man exists. He's the most famous bloody person in New York, because God knows how many exploits he's had. Yet then Venom is like, Eddie Brock is surprised. An investigative reporter, Eddie Brock, is surprised when Venom's like, I know who Spider-Man is. It's like, dude, come on now.
Which one?
It's like doesn't Spider-Man exist in your universe because you already shown that? I don't know. It's dumb as shit.
Like, I've heard about them wanting to bring Garfield back. I'm not opposed to it. You just have to find a logical way to make it make sense why he's around, Tom Hardy and all of that coming together. And I don't trust it, because this is just going to be Sony on their own. This is their, version. So they don't really have to talk to Feige and all that to get a decent story. They'll just be like, oh, okay, no one cares.
And it makes no sense anyway, because some of the symbiote was left in the Tom Holland universe.
We're going to get 2 Venoms running around at some point.
Yeah.
Which is going to be confusing for civilians, regular civilians, I like to prefer to them, that don't really follow all this shit.
Unless we get a different Eddie Brock. And that's where the conspiracy theory comes in, because you heard about Tom Hardy and how he's got in trouble over the last week or whatever.
Oh.
Because Tom Hardy, about, when was it? When did the first Venom come out? 2019 or so?
About that, 18, 19, yeah.
2018, 2019. So about 3 years ago, right? He was doing a press tour, and he basically played a Japanese guy in some kind of, play or something like that. And he described the Japanese guy as, he goes, I was playing some Chinaman or whatever, right? So somebody's found this recording, which he basically did as a thing for Venom, like like a fan thing for Venom, and now they've put it, and it's just gone viral everywhere. And he's been forced to apologize for saying, being racist to Chinese people, basically.
It's definitely culturally insensitive.
Yeah,
but the way that Hollywood tends to work, literally Venom's just come out, so it's not going to be until like another 2 years before the next one. So by that point, how this stuff, the news cycle works. They'll be onto something else. Tom Holland will probably be cancelled by that point, so no one will care.
And the thing is, I've heard way more, to me, racist stuff by Hollywood critics than I have heard something like that. So when the Venom film actually came out, there was a lot of like critics on YouTube and Hollywood critics and stuff like that saying the reason why Venom did so well in China and Japan is because they're very unsophisticated audiences, and they're basically like they just like to watch films where people just have action and bash each other's heads in and stuff like that, right? And it's like, okay, that in itself is essentially a racist comment, right? You're basically saying that, okay, Venom did better over there because they're unsophisticated and just as a people.
That's basically saying.
That's basically what you're saying.
They're dumb.
Those same people could then not go and start digging up random quotes of what somebody else is saying and things like that. You know what I mean? It's just, I just find it odd, man. But yeah, I don't know how do we get from Batman into this?
Your most anticipated film in 2022.
Oh, the most anticipated film apart from Morbius, yeah.
But yeah, Batman looks good.
But yeah, I mean, I actually looked at the list of stuff that is coming next year, and it is just crazy. The only thing that I think maybe might not come next year is Wakanda Forever, which is slated for November, but I think that's going to get moved to the year after. I think. And the reason why I say that is there's too many things in those kind of slots there, basically. The mad thing is there are 2 films in July which were like a week apart. There was like something, and there was Black Adam. I think it was Doctor Strange, and then it was Black Adam like a week after. Right? I'm just thinking like, okay, I don't know.
Cumberbatch's gonna eat Rock's lunch. Yes. Keep it.
So yeah, those are the kind of things. But at the moment, kind of like Batman's unopposed, but there's 46 days later it's going to come on HBO Max or something, which I think is enough time. That's a month, right?
Yeah, basically.
So you got a month. Well, yeah, you got a month of people going and watching it on in the cinema, which I think a lot of people are going to do anyway. So, yeah, definitely my most anticipated of next year, apart from Top Gun Maverick, which is my number one anticipated for next year, just because I love fighter planes. But anyway, let's go into our big movie review, man. Matrix. And guys, the only reason why we are reviewing this is because there are graphic novels and comic books of the Matrix, and if you want to see a good story of the Matrix, then check those out because they are generally decent. Before I start saying anything, what did you think?
You read a bunch of them, so
yes, I found some of them online. It's the same as the films, but they basically give you a little bit more kind of background and stuff like that, basically, right? So it's just the 1, 2, 3 films, basically. Okay. So it just tells you a little bit about the background and the Merovingian and how he rose to power and how all that kind of stuff, basically. So it's quite interesting. Goes a lot more into it than the films do. The films would have to be 6-7 hours to put all that stuff in, but yeah, decent, basically. So check them out. The artwork is not fantastic, but still, it's all right. So, before we go into this is the first film that I've seen, probably for about 3-4 years, where I've actually just seen people walk out after like 20-30 minutes. And I honestly because this was like, where we went to is packed. And there were people, I think, they're just going, go for the toilet or whatever, but they were literally genuinely walking out of the place. So I don't know what their thoughts were. But yeah, before I say anything about, what I thought, what did you think about it?
Well, after the second trailer, there was things I was starting to see in that trailer that worried me more so than the first. Well, I was like, I'm not sure about it. So I decided not to go cinema and just watch it at home. And I'm glad I did, because I did not enjoy this. And it breaks my heart to say that, because I do love The Matrix. Even the ones everyone else hates. Well, Revolution ain't so great, but, I have fun with Reloaded. There's stuff in there that I can enjoy. But this was just it just felt like it was made by a completely different person. I guess we know which one of the Wachowskis is the one with the artistic eye, especially for the action scenes, because there was nothing in this action-wise that even stood out.
So have you seen the interviews that Lana Wachowski's been giving?
Read little bits and bobs, but not watching full.
Watch the videos, right? Very, very telling, right? And this is why, I put on, on our WhatsApp group, I think this is a piss take. I honestly think that Lana Wachowski has done a piss take because.
Well, I kind of say, I kind of understand that, but then at the same time, I feel like, would she do that to Keanu and the other one, and Trinity? Isn't she fond of them enough that she wouldn't set them up to be in this bullshit movie? Maybe.
Maybe. I mean, the thing is, there's a lot of commentary in this about the studio meddling, the way that things are made by studios and stuff like that.
It's a pattern that they've established since The Matrix. I think probably they got really started into it with Reloaded, but they're too, what's the word? I don't want to use meta. Everyone's using the word meta, but they're too pretentious in the way that they feel like they're above the audience, and it's like, we're so smart, aren't we smart? Don't you think we're so smart with what we're doing? We're twisting back and forth, and this was just the worst of it, man. Just winking to the camera constantly, and it's basically just the same film as the first, just from a different perspective, but a shitty one.
Yeah. I mean, you're saying you didn't enjoy it, right? I've got to say, I absolutely hated this. I thought it's the worst film that I've seen this year, and I'm including. Oh my God, what was that film that I saw? It'll come to me. I saw a Netflix film that was so appalling that I was kind of like,
Their last couple
Yeah,
films,
yeah.
Cloud,
Look,
Atlas,
look.
Jupiter Ascending, like those were
Oh
travesty.
no! I haven't seen those. I
Those
thought you were
were
talking about Matrix 2 and 3, because
no.
I went with some friends from uni, right? And basically, like, we are talking about this there before, and I said, to be honest, I didn't mind 2 and 3 because I like war movies, and obviously, like, Terminator 2 is my favorite film of all time. So I kind of like the stuff when, like, they're there and all the sentinels are coming in. To me, that I actually really liked it. So, I can say that pretty much I like their entire vision of this. But there are certain things that make the Matrix the same way there are certain things that make Batman, right? Or Superman, or whatever, or Iron Man. And there are certain things. So one of the things is fighting, right? There needs to be some bloody good fighting
that you can
in here
see.
that you can see, right? Without this shitty, shaky cam close up garbage. Like, what was that, man? You can't see any of the fighting. There was no cool stuff. The number 2 is the music. The music was atrociously bad in this, man.
Nothing stood out. That's always telling to me. If I've watched the film and I can't remember any melody or any song that stood out to me that I thought, wow, that was cool. Yeah, then it was garbage.
Even in the second and the third ones, they all had this cool stuff. Like, in the second one, they had this bit where they're going to the Merovingians,
the chateau
club.
Fight. Oh, the club was good, but that fight in the chateau, the music.
That fight in the chateau was amazing. Wow. But what I mean is the music in the club one, when they're going and just everything looked cool, and you look at it and you're like, damn, this looks amazing. Like, the music, that obviously the philosophy there as well, all of that kind of stuff makes the Matrix, right? The one thing about this that I kind of found was, you obviously remember, like, the later Terminator movies, right? When Arnold started to get a little bit old.
Yeah.
And he couldn't move the same way that he could do there before, right? Yeah. When he was getting a little bit older, his moves were a little bit stifled, and what they would kind of do is they would pan the camera a little bit closer so you couldn't see so much of his overall movements and stuff like that. And the one thing that I absolutely hated about this film was, okay, Neo's the chosen one. He's like, oh, I still know Kung Fu and stuff like that. The only thing he keeps doing is a bloody Hadouken on everybody, man. Literally just like this, like all the time. It's like, dude, what are you doing, man?
That doesn't make sense, though, because even though the John Wick films have kind of gotten worse as they keep going on, just getting more silly. They're going the way that the Fast and Furious films are going, but they're still entertaining. But Keanu, he's doing it all. And he looks great doing it. So it doesn't make sense to me that he can do that stuff, but he can't do it here. Like, what? And he just looks stiff and awkward. And it was like, oh, no.
I mean, did they do it on purpose? Like, there were so many times in here when I was just like, oh, my God, this acting is flipping atrocious, right? There was bits when he's like, what? What?
That's Keanu Reeves. Let's be honest. Like, much as we love him, he's never been a great actor.
I know, but they do it in a way that they make him look like, a great actor, right? In this, it's just like it was just appalling, like the way they just framed everything. Where we went to see it, we went to go and see it in a showcase cinema, which had a laser projector.
Ooh.
Right? I've never seen a film look this bad on the screen, right? And I don't know whether part of it was the laser projector. It literally looked like when you see that footage of films when they've been filmed, right? And it's just like that. Nothing's been added to it. It's like, and it's like somebody's, somebody just filming part of the action, and that's it, right? The cinematographer, whoever did this, needs the biggest beating ever, because this is the ugliest looking film that I've ever flipping seen. Right? I've seen reviews of this. It is ugly. It's like, don't look full great, but the worst. Ugly. The worst. Okay. I've seen films on Amazon Prime that have been made for like a budget of like 20 quid that have better cinematography than this thing did, right? The I When I was watching this, I was like, okay, are they taking the piss? Are they kind of trying to film something serious and it just hasn't kind of worked out? Or I I couldn't I couldn't quite get it. Honestly, like
I think it's the other one. I think it's the other Wachowski that has the eye for this stuff, the visual eye. Maybe this one's for the storytelling, even though it weren't great. But maybe the other one's the one that knows to pull away when it's the fight scenes to show everything and to put effort into the music and the grading.
the fact that the John Wick choreographers did the fights in this is
shit!
just
I did not know that.
horrendous. Yeah, exactly. How embarrassing, right? How embarrassing is it? Like, they must have put effort into this. They must have said, like, you do this, you do that.
Yeah, but
some of the other things,
even
like
the fight with fake Morpheus, there was nothing there. There was literally nothing I could think of that stood out as anything. It was literally just the little bit of hand waving and then the Hadouken that went through the wall.
Yeah, the continuous stuff that they had in this, where they kept showing parts of the old films, just made me think, I wish I was watching those old films, man.
Got annoying.
Like, it was like you could just see like I guess they were filmed on film.
Yeah.
So they're like got the grain on it and stuff like that, and it just looks better. It's like the whole idea of it was crazy, because it's like, okay, this is a game that he created, right?
That game.
It's the most ridiculously realistic, unbelievable game that you can ever make, right? The whole premise makes no sense, because, like, okay, you're trying to make him forget that he was part of the Matrix, right? And say that he is a game designer and design a game.
Yeah.
Right now, you're gonna keep reminding him of the Matrix by continually feeding him. Yeah.
And then if you have to have him there, and you have to have Trinity, because she is also, he's no longer the one now, he's the two, because they're both the one, as important as each other. So if they both have to be alive, would you keep them in the same city where they can keep bumping into each other? Or would you put the other one in Australia or something?
No. So halfway through watching this, I was like, I've seen this movie before. Where have I seen this idea there before? And I didn't think of it until I came home, and I was like, oh shit, it's like Hancock, right? Where you've got this flipping hobo guy, right? And basically,
yes, because they had to be I forgot about that.
And they turned Keanu Reeves into like the hobo guy, basically from Hancock. He's like disheveled, and he's got mental problems, and he doesn't understand why, and all this kind of stuff. And at the end, everything's revealed.
Because in that, they can't be together, because when they're together, they lose their powers, isn't it? They just become.
When they're together, they become this unstoppable, destructive force that literally destroys like the world.
Oh, didn't he? Yes, that's it. I thought he lost his abilities. Like, they both lose their abilities when they're together. But no, yeah, right. They turns into some state.
Yeah. So they can't be together. So he basically becomes this drunk hobo to try and keep away from her, basically. So it's kind of like the opposite kind of idea. So I mean, like I said, the fights and the music was terrible. One of the big things that I didn't like in this, and it's my biggest bugbear about when people, I've discussed this film with so many people now, but when I discuss this film with people and they say, oh, if you're a big fan of the Matrix, then you'll like this, and it's like, well, no, how? Because even when you're watching the fights, okay, which you can't see very well, okay, then how none of this looks like it's occurring in the Matrix. It looks like they're just fighting just normally. Like, there's nothing like cool, or like, okay, jumping off walls and flying here to there, and using certain things like Trinity and Morpheus were doing, and even the standard guys that they had, kind of like telling them stuff. The other guys that they brought into the Matrix, even they could like go and like run up a wall.
They gave them
stuff
nothing,
like that.
Nothing to do. I've got Henry got some stuff, bugs.
Yeah,
he was all right, but
I feel sorry for her, man, because also it's like, kind of like they could have
turned down Shang-Chi to do this. Could have had that film and their own spin-off, 10 Rings, because she was going to be the sister. Oh well.
Wow. Why? Well, the thing is, they kind of portrayed it that she was going to be the protagonist, and then it was like she's not, and the whole story behind it makes no sense. Like, she's like, oh, I saw you were kind of coming off and then you flew or something. It's like
she saw him in a previous iteration of him in a different body. That's why it kept going to the bald guy, and he was trying to fly because he had the memory, but he was basically committing suicide, so he would have just died and then came again as another version of him. But she saw him attempt
suicide,
attempt to fly,
but then wasn't he didn't what's his name, the analyst say you're a suicide survivor? So it's like,
because he
came back off a building?
No, he came back as another version, because that version of him on the building was a bald guy, like a different middle-aged bald guy.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying.
And now he's in the old different.
But whenever he looked in the mirror, he'd always see like
the old guy. So that's another. So he dies and then comes back. So he keeps coming back, innit? The Matrix just keeps rebooting him.
But then the analyst is saying to Neo that you're a suicide survivor, but he's not meant to know that he's in the Matrix. He's meant to be like
bad writing, man.
It's just bad writing. I don't know. So, and I don't know how. Okay, so then she somehow gets inspired by a dude killing himself, but she sees it was Neo for a brief second or something. So yeah, I mean, that kind of thing there, just it had some ideas in this that I thought, okay, if they went with this would be pretty decent, right?
I think they shouldn't have focused on Neo. People always feel like, okay, we're making a Matrix film, it's got to be Neo and Trinity, it's got to be Keanu and what's the face. But maybe they should have just gone with new characters, even if they did the Bugs thing where she's observing, going back into the old records, trying to learn, seeing aspects of the original Matrix story from a different perspective, but that lead into something else rather than retelling this. It's basically the same film. All the benchmarks of that first film keep happening with this, but shittier.
They had the one good idea I think they had from this, which they say in like a brief moment and then just get rid of it, was the thing about, okay, there was peace, but then as they started taking out more and more people, the cinema, the city started fighting against each other, right?
That should have been the film.
Yeah, and I was thinking, okay, that is interesting as shit, man, because you might have one group who are just like, okay, well, we're just gonna keep harvesting humans, right? That's what we're gonna do, and then the other lot are like, okay, no, we've got a truce, we've got to do, whatever. And, it's kind of like trying to find a way of them, working with each other and blah, blah, blah. I think some of the problem is that meta stuff is, if you try and bring too much of our kind of thought processes into the Matrix, it immediately pulls you out of thinking this is the Matrix. For example, I
was going to say, that compares it to Spider-Man. They both did something similar in that Spider-Man kept bringing back one-liners and characters from the previous iterations of these characters, but it worked. It seemed organic, but with Matrix doing it, it just they were just knocking you over the head over and over again with these lines. Okay, it's done. Okay, I get it. Sequels are shit. You're not smarter. It's just...
Yeah, exactly. Because they were like, people like reboots better. They were doing this like, cloud meeting basically, where it's just like brainstorming. but I mean, because that's the thing. Like, okay, so in the second Matrix, he meets the architect, right?
Yeah.
And the architect seems like a bloody robot. You know he's a program. Just the
Yeah.
way he talks and the way he analyzes stuff. And this guy is like, he's also meant to be, the Neil Patrick Harris character is also meant to be a program, right?
New architect, yeah.
But then at the end, he just becomes like a horribly misogynistic. Like, I mean, why is he saying, "Oh, why don't you shut her up?" To, like, to Neo about
he was
Trinity and
shit.
stuff. It's like,
And I like Neil
why
Patrick
was
Harris, but there was no
yeah.
menace to him. Like the architects in Reloaded, he did nothing. He just sat there and talked, but there was gravitas with that actor that they got. An actor I've never seen before, never seen since, but there was weight to him, man, just sitting in that chair.
Did you feel like, for me, I felt there was no threat in this entire film. Like, at no point was I worried.
Even the
about
shitty
anything.
new Agent Smith that they, what, you didn't even need Agent Smith in this. Like, why do this other version? Because it didn't matter. Didn't matter.
Yeah. It would just be like, to me, it was kind of like, okay, oh, we gotta get Trinity out. It's like, by that point, I didn't care. It was like, there was no like thinking, okay, they're gonna get done, they're gonna get in trouble. To me, when I was looking at the I'm laughing now, because when I was looking at the Sentinels and stuff, I was thinking, these things don't even look real, man. The other ones look like these metallic beasts that would just come into, I don't know whether they're models then. I assume they were models rather than CGI, or CGI'd models, like models that had been changed to. I know I've seen the what's it called? Nebuchadnezzar. I've actually seen the model of that, like in a museum. But I don't know whether they did that with the Sentinels and stuff there as well, because they look legit. You know what I mean?
It's like you're talking about, that they feel like they've just taken the footage straight out of the camera and just shoved it straight on the screen rather than grade it and color correct and all that. Because it just kind of has this cartoon look to it. So even even when they're in the real world, it just didn't have that grit that the original real world had. It just like this dark, dirty world. It just looked animated.
Yeah. And then you had this shitty manta ray flipping robot that comes out of bloody
with
nowhere.
Googly eyes. It had googly eyes. That's what threw me off. Like, what?
What the hell was that?
What the hell was that? Around as a fucking stingray.
Oh, it's just so bizarre, man. Absolutely bizarre. That's when you're just like, this shit is just going crazy.
One thing I did like is how they allowed a program to exist in the real world with those little beads, and they would have that weird little ghosty figure thing. That was a cool idea, but
it was interesting. They had some ideas. They definitely had some ideas, right? And it was, some of these ideas that the programs wanted to live and be friendly with humans and stuff like that, and vice versa. Those kind of ideas were good. But there were so many things that kind of like, I read Scott Mendelssohn's review from Forbes, right? And one of the things he wrote in there was splendidly acted. I'm like, bruv, did you watch Jada Pinkett Smith's performance?
It's supposed to be a 90-year-old woman or something around that age, if you factor in the 60 years that is supposed to be from the event of the first film. What? It didn't just look like regular how she is on TV now.
Yeah.
With a few scars.
Yeah. Sit her in a mechanical wheelchair.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it. Don't have her do if I said to my 6-year-old, can you walk around like an old man? He'd be like, oh yeah, my back, like that. You know what I mean? It's like it's so horrendous.
Yeah.
That is not acting. You know
Especially
what I mean?
how they're living. Even harder. She should just be like bedridden.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, this is like, she had obviously she had like wrinkles all over her face and stuff like that there as well. And that's that's kind of fine, but they were really badly done. Yeah. It was like the worst prosthetic in the world. Whoever does the prosthetics for the Star Wars stuff must have been pissing themselves if they saw this, because they'd be like, this is so bad. It's just like it's absolutely horrendous. Even when they were like I was speaking to another guy called Mike, who's on our forum, and he's like, oh yeah, this interjects like loads of like nice bits of humor and stuff, and I was like, okay, when was the Matrix funny in all three films? When was it? When was the humor in that? Right, I can't understand then why would this. The only funny thing that I can think of in the entire thing, um, which was like a one-liner joke, was when the pilot off, I can't remember what the ship was, but then Niobe flies the ship.
Oh, like, damn,
and
woman, you can fly.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
it. That's like the one-liner. Or she says like, "Oh, she's got a fat ass," like that about
yeah.
the ship. That is it.
Or that
But
little
that
skinny
is,
guy in the first film. The little skinny one
yeah,
ended up getting killed off. He had a few little lines, but yeah, it was always just a little short punch of
yeah,
humor. It wasn't like a broad character that was continuously trying to make jokes. Unlike the little chubby guy that hangs out with Keanu in his games studio, like that.
yeah.
All those guys was annoying.
Oh, they were just so annoying. I mean, some of the things you look at and you think, okay, there's some good, okay ideas here with all of them everybody's looking at their mobiles now. So it's like you're kind of in the Matrix now anyway, because you're
Yeah,
looking through there.
they don't need
That's
to try to keep us appeased. We do it
yeah,
to ourselves now because of modern technology. Like,
yeah.
I get what they're trying to do. They just did it badly.
Just did it, yeah, just did it horrendously. And some of the things in there, yeah, like I said, interesting ideas, never really went anywhere. I also just found it really boring. I
Yeah.
was kind of
Oh,
just like, for most of it, being like, okay, when is this going to end? What's going on? Okay. And when they jump off and Trinity starts flying, it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Not really bothered. I'm not really that interested in that. I know when they were filming this, I saw all the pictures of them filming stuff, and they were actually
yeah.
jumping off a freaking building. And you kind of think the effort that went into this to make something
Yeah.
so bad. Some films I look at and I think, okay, if they rearranged stuff a bit, edited things here and there, added things here and there, would have changed it. With this, it really makes it quite difficult for me to kind of say that. And I also feel the person I feel most sorry for in this is Yahya Abdul Mateen, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like this dude has been put into uh two films now by Warner Brothers, right? Which has basically been horrendous remakes.
Oh,
The first one being
Candyman as well.
Candyman,
Yeah, that one.
and the
But
second one, which he could never hold a candle to Tony Todd, and now it's like he's got to now hold a candle to Lawrence Fishburne, right? And it's like everybody's saying, well, Tony Todd was better, Lawrence Fishburne was better.
at
It's
least with
like,
Candyman, even though I did not like that film at all, generally people seem to be okay with it. So I think he got out of that one pretty unscathed generally because it has some audience at least. But this, to be honest, just like with the Agent Smith, the new Agent Smith that they got, they didn't need to be there. I think they didn't need to
yeah,
have this Morpheus either. It was
no.
a pointless addition.
And they said this Morpheus was a mix between Morpheus and Agent Smith. But it's like, what Agent Smith stuff or Morpheus stuff was in this dude? It wasn't like a mix of any of them.
It was too
Like
goofy as well. Like,
yeah,
when was
Morpheus is cool.
Yeah, when was this guy was
But
just trying to?
yeah, Morpheus is cool, but this guy was like, oh, look at me in my 6 threads, like, walking around the toilet, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I got these nice glasses, I'm so cool, look at me. It's like,
and
it's
repeating
like
that caricature, repeating the lines, but doing it in just a goofy way, and actually making a joke about repeating those lines from the game.
It's like blah blah blah. It's like, oh, piss off, man. Did you stay for the end credits? Did you watch the end credit?
No.
Oh my god. Okay, now this is the thing that when this is the thing that I said to Mike, and I was like, look, dude, if you say to people that you like the Matrix, did you see the end credit scene? Because these guys are telling you that they hate you, right? They hate your guts, right? And he's like, no. I said, okay, go and look up end credit scene Matrix, right? Or download it. It is the game developers. So they're still talking about this game developing shit, which makes no sense because that should have bloody finished. The game developers are like, right, what's the most popular thing online right now, right? And they're like, oh, on all these like streaming platforms, it's cat videos, right? It's cat videos. So what do? Let's make a new game called the Catrix, and we're gonna have cats in the Matrix like that, yeah. And you watch this, and you're like, what in the actual shit is this end credit scene? Now, I remember when I was watching Spider-Man Homecoming, and it's kind of like everybody's waiting for that end credit scene. And then Captain America comes on, and it's kind of like, oh shit, you got me, man. We're staying with this kind of thing. But with this, it's like they're saying to you, you're an idiot for liking this.
They should have just had a middle finger just come up on the cinema screen, be like,
did you see that? They had that in the middle of the film. Did you see that?
No.
Okay, so this is the reason why there's all this kind of conspiracy theory about Lana Wachowski and stuff like that. There is a bit. So you know when Neo is sitting there with all this Matrix memorabilia and all this kind of stuff around him and things like that, right? Okay, and there is a bit literally in there where there is a middle finger just sticking up like this, and it pans on that middle finger just sticking up and then disappears away, and it's just like, oh,
quite possibly. You could argue though that is also a callback to because it does repeat and mirror events of the first
the
film,
second,
the interrogation thing where he does the middle finger. But yeah, if they're focused on it like that,
So they're doing that, and also that reminds me of the other bit there as well. I also don't understand what message this film is trying to tell you, right? So
we're dumb.
That we're stupid for watching this, but also as well at the same time, okay, this Trinity, okay, has meant to be living her entire life through the Matrix, right? Okay, so she's living her life through the Matrix. So through the Matrix, she's grown up, she's married this guy, she's got 2 kids, right? And then she meets Neo, and her kids are saying to her, come on, mom, come with us, right? And she's like, oh, F off, Chad. And then she just goes. And it's like, dude, you got 2 kids, man. It's like, what are you trying to tell? Like, you abandoned the 2 kids for your...
Even if she never grew up in the Matrix, she was just like woke up one day and it was just in that scenario and she just accepted it as being her life. Still, she would still believably have that bond. We kind of saw that earlier when she was hanging out with her kids. So yeah, it just did seem to be a bit easy for her to be like, my name's not Tiffany, it's Trinity. Get off me.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you just abandon... And those 2 kids are what? They're not programs, are they? They're people, right? Aren't they?
I believe they.
Well,
you can argue both, but yeah, I get what you're saying. They could be either.
I mean, if they showed that they were programs and they were designed to trick her, then okay, fine, then that's different. And that's quite an interesting thing because it's kind of like saying, okay, there are messages that you're bombarded with every day that is trying to trick you and behaving into a certain way, and then once you break free of it, then that's quite clever. But they didn't. What they kind of say is like, she even says like, oh, you're always trying to use the children when she turns to the analyst guy. And it's like, what the fuck does that mean? That makes no sense whatsoever.
Badly ruined. Like, tell me, what did you think of the new zombie addition to the Matrix universe? Horde.
The zombie horde.
They were zombies. That's basically what they were.
Horde, where true.
Random people suddenly just had that black cold going over their eyes and then
yeah. That reminded me of Suicide Squad, the original one, when basically, like, apparently in the original cut they're actually meant to be like characters that are meant to go and fight against them, but Warner Brothers thought it was too bad, so basically it was just Enchantress turning them into these like black figures, basically, right? Black gooey figures that you could end up just killing, and it was kind of like the same kind of thing, like they could take people over. But even with that, I'm thinking, okay, there's no threat in this. Like, okay, they're going through on a motorbike,
people throwing themselves out of windows hoping to hit
so
them.
What? And then you think, okay, well, surely they can use Matrix abilities when they're doing that, like drive the motorbike up the side of a building and then come off and then do a cool flip round and stuff. It's just things. It's like, this looks like what this film reminded me of when you get a sequel to a film that has kind of done well, but it's unexpectedly done well. For example, like Death Race. Can you remember Death Race with Jason Statham?
Yeah.
And then they made Death Race 2 with Vinnie Jones. And then they made Death Race 3 with that guy used to be in that group called Ross in the
UK. Basically, they had no plans for a further story, so they just had to kind of throw shit together. Yeah, exactly what.
And you watch it, and it's like, what the hell is this? The dialogue's bad. It doesn't look like anything like the original Death Race. The cinematography's horrendous. The way it's shot is terrible. Just everything. It
makes me think about what could have been, because apparently Warner Brothers were in the plannings for another Matrix, regardless, independent of the Wachowskis. And it was I think the director of Viva Vendetta was saying, because he worked with them, because they produced that. And he was saying that, Warner Brothers have been working on various scripts, developing various writers. So it was going to happen regardless. But then Lana turned up with, like, I've got a story, I want to make it. And they're like, all right, cool. So it makes you think, what could have been if they had this, let someone else with a different perspective take this over, and what story they could have told. Because now it's pretty much dead. Like,
you heard that they've greenlit a Matrix 5, right?
Are you kidding?
What? I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding, mate. I read this today and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Right? I don't know. I didn't like double check it that it was on whatever, but basically, like, the Matrix 5 is planned to be made, basically.
It's weird,
right?
Because even Lana was saying that they had no plans to do another one. That this was it.
You never know. Sometimes it's just a way to get people to watch this one. Like, basically, if people just decide that they're never going to watch this film. But what they
conflicting reports on that one, so we'll have to wait and see.
We'll wait and see. Hopefully the answer is no, basically. But yeah, what it kind of looks like to me is, have you ever seen this thing called Sense8?
That I've seen some of them. I didn't stick with it though.
So
these are the same writers, by the way. People wrote that like this.
It kind of looks like they're rejected ideas from Sense8 that they've thought, let's put into this. Can you remember there was a director called Josh Trank?
Yeah.
He made the new Fantastic Four. He wanted to make a Chronicle 2, but they wouldn't let him. Fox wouldn't let him make a Chronicle 2. They're like, you got to make Fantastic Four instead. So he's like, right, I'm going to make Chronicle 2, but put Fantastic Four and pretend it's Fantastic Four over the top of it. And that's basically what he did, right? So this kind of seems to me like, okay, Lana had all these ideas for Sense8. This is kind of like, the way that it is. And a lot of the dialogue kind of seems like it's very Sense8-y. And it's like, okay, let's just kind of hang the Matrix over the top of it and then hang it over Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers will be like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, the thing that always cracks me up about this, is that they're like, oh yeah, our benevolent benefactors, Warner Brothers, and then they're cussing Warner Brothers and the studio process and all that through this. It's like, if you're an executive watching this, I would if I was an executive and I had half a brain, I would turn around and say, do you know what? I'm not paying you any money for this.
Dude,
right?
They shouldn't be making anything. Speed Racer, as far as I'm concerned, flopped. Jupiter Ascending flopped. Cloud Atlas flopped. These are $100 million films that they were making. Each of them flopped. Sensei ended up getting cancelled. How do they keep making these big ass films? It makes no sense to me. There comes a point where it's insane.
It's interesting because it's kind of like, I find it in a way that when I talk to certain people online about Batman, for example, okay, and I say Batman is this because he did this and this comic book series, and he did this and this comic book series and stuff. You talk to some people about it and they're like, okay, well, no, Batman all he does is he never kills anybody, right? And that's basically like the only essence there of his character. And it kind of looks to me like what whoever has made this or proved this has never seen the original Matrix films and has basically just looked on a Wikipedia page and been like, "Yep, okay, kung fu, yes, okay." They talk about some philosophical stuff. Red pill, blue pill. Yep, yep, yep.
It looks like
What else? Keanu Reeves.
Someone wrote a fanfic story, and then someone decided to film that fan fiction of the Matrix, that of a continuation of that story. That's what this basically comes off like.
Yeah. So after talking to you about cameras and stuff there as well, I was like, okay, let me find out what they used to film this. And apparently this is called a red camera 6K, which is what they used to film this, which is basically like it looks like a